From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. This episode is all about creating awareness, like the depressing wake-up call I had this week when I realized that the social distancing movement and avoiding public events has not affected my life at all. And now, broadcasting from the Churn, that guy is Dr. Jim Jobin. I'm Nick Tangeman. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Yeah.
My wife asked me yesterday if we could have a COVID-19 party.
Yeah.
And just have a bunch of people over to the house once everybody's out of their jobs.
That would be cool.
That is cool.
And my response was, yes.
Yes, I don't
Of course
care.
That's a great idea.
Can we have a quarantine
You know what would be
party?
really funny is to do it on Zoom.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody's
Zoom's
doing
Boy,
well.
you just made my party really boring.
Yeah, Zoom is doing really well.
They are,
Oh
actually.
my
And
God.
actually, we heard this week who I work for, the university, they said that anybody who has a .edu email address, they'll give you a free upgrade.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So-
well, there you go. So during
all
this
the-
crisis, you're doing great. Happiest you've ever been. Just getting
It
all
has
the perks.
Everything's
Oh,
coming
you know
up,
what?
Nick.
Everything's coming
You know what?
up. Nick.
Oh, not nearly as much as everything's coming up, Jim.
Okay. Oh, is this what you alluded to earlier that you were going to start yelling at
Yeah,
me?
I've learned that
Okay.
there's no justice in this world at all. At all.
Well, was it the global pandemic that made you think there was no justice? Was that,
I think
that
just the
probably
way
was
that
a good
just-
clue.
Yeah. No. Actually, that wasn't it. It was just the cancellation of the NCAA March Madness.
I don't have control over these things, Nick. God has control over these things.
I don't think God has control over it either.
That's what my bumper sticker says. My bumper sticker. Like I was saying in the pre-show, I love that Smitty was like, "This is the best evidence I've ever seen for the existence of God."
Yeah.
It's like, there you go.
Yeah.
That was the argument I was trying to make, guys. That was it. So,
Completely.
yep, I will be hosting a Patreon-only baptism service if everybody just wants to jump in. And now's the time, guys. Now's the time. It will only be done with Germex. It will be bleach and vinegar. Just to keep everybody good.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. We got
As
life
we
coached.
learned.
We got life coached during the Patreon. If you would like to learn how to not die from mustard gas, kick us a buck.
Chlorine gas.
Chlorine gas.
Yeah, I don't think it's mustard gas.
I believe mustard gas is chlorine gas.
Nope.
Is that a different thing? Did you look it up?
To the internet.
I just know that they're different.
Look it up. Look it up.
He
I
doesn't
think
need
that
to. He's made them both.
Chlorine gas is mustard gas. Mustard gas is chlorine gas. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Batman is Bruce Wayne. That is what they are. It's called mustard
Are
gas.
you
'cause
willing?
it's
Are you
yellow.
willing to bet a bumper sticker on this?
No.
What are we betting on it?
I've learned my lesson. I
have ya?
have learned. Never again.
I don't. Okay.
I was so worried about this. Like,
Yeah,
I thought for
I know.
sure that I was doomed.
There was, in my opinion, there was no way out of this.
Yeah, no,
There was-
that was it.
The chances of you winning the tournament were nil.
Would you say it was about 0%?
Yeah, and that's even being generous.
Would you say that this might classify as a miracle?
No.
Is that where you're going with this?
So what are we betting? What are we betting?
No, you already looked it up. Your
I've already-
confidence is all I need.
I have already said I was confident before I've looked it up.
Then I'm not betting anything. Like, that's Russian
Yeah, definitely
roulette.
not the same.
They're not the same.
You know an easy way to know that they're not the same?
Because
they have different names.
Yeah. So mustard gas is not chlorine gas?
No.
What is mustard gas?
It's a deadly gas.
Did you look it up? All right, that's it. I'm going to Google on this one. We're going to let Google tell us what the truth is about mustard gas.
Let's see.
What is mustard gas?
It's the
Mustard
particle
gas.
substance,
A colorless, oily
sulfur-based.
liquid whose vapor is a powerful irritant and vesicant
Oh, that
used in
doesn't
chemical
help.
weapons.
How do you make it? Wait a minute. If I start asking that, I think I just got flagged by the NSA. Never mind, I'm done. How do you make mustard gas? Well, welcome to the apocalypse, all of our listeners around the world.
Yes.
Welcome to the coronavirus apocalypse. If you'd like to hear our deeper and more sullen thoughts on the issue, kick us a buck on Patreon. You'll also learn how to not die from chemical exposure in your own kitchen. And we're glad to teach you those things. That's why people tune in.
Yeah, and we've been doing our part. We're no longer recording this in front of a live studio audience. The risks are too great.
Yeah, we had to cancel.
So-
Yeah, that was, and that's because we're responsible. I
Right.
think we care about our listeners, and so
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody who had tickets.
The line that formed outside, we just sent home.
Yeah, I'm sorry we couldn't do the refund thing. But you knew the risks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, did you see Kevin Anderson's?
That he wants
He
his
wants
dollar
his dollar back.
yeah, because March Madness was canceled. No, but then he got to vote in our logo contest, and he was like, "Well, I guess I had my buck. I got something for my buck."
Which, by the way, we should decide that today.
okay, yeah,
Well, let's
Live
finalize
on air.
that.
Yeah.
And, it's been going good. Thank you, everybody who's
Yes.
participated in that.
Yeah.
Your feedback has been very helpful.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I didn't like. Me looking at it, I didn't even think of.
Right.
But then
yeah.
looking at the Patreon's comments,
right,
on a lot of those, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's a
that
good
is
point."
True. Right. Yeah.
Somebody spotted that the logo on one of them was not free to use.
Oh yeah. I actually contacted the artist about that. Yeah,
and it was very similar. Wow.
Yeah,
man, we dodged a bullet there.
Yeah,
we
and the listener even gave us advice and was like, "Hey, here's the thing you need to ask in order to make sure you can use this." And so I contacted the artist and was like, "Hey, what's the situation with this?" And they were like, "Oh, I actually own that. Like, I made it. And it's a stock image, but it's
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay.
It's that person's stock image.
They were like,
Okay,
I
cool.
am the creator, so I do have the right." And it's
Okay, cool.
but I'm taking their word for it.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I can't remember who that was that made that comment, but thank you.
Thank
we
you.
Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and thanks to everybody. Lots of good feedback, lots of enthusiasm. That was the thing I found most encouraging as we were showing off the logos on Instagram, and we also showed. And also, Jacob, if you go to our Instagram, you can actually see the 3 big nominations. We can get your feedback on that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway. I'll just
How do I get on
describe it.
Instagram?
How do what's my login?
I definitely don't know my login.
But yeah, it was encouraging all the people that said like, okay, this one, and I will place my order right now. They were like, I want that shirt right now. And it was just like, oh, okay, that's nice. That's encouraging that people are, they want the shirt, which is neat because like the reason we've drug our feet on this for now 2 years to create anything is A, I don't think we ever felt like our logo was worth putting on something, and B, I didn't think anybody would wear it. So like, yeah, so once we do this, we're gonna create a little space for people to kind of grab some swag, and that'll be fun. So that'll be really neat that people actually have swag.
Yeah,
we'll have swag.
Yeah, very exciting.
Besides the shirts and cups my mom makes.
Right. Yeah,
The
we're
real
going
swag.
we're going big
Pod
time.
Therapy Guys, right?
Yes,
yeah, there you
Pod
are.
Therapy Guys on Instagram.
Yeah.
So thank you to everybody who's supporting us in that way. So big news coming out that
Where is it?
finally.
Which
It's
thing is it?
Probably one of our top recent.
Is it
posts.
the blue thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 3 side by side. So or like the 3 images are scrollable. One is kind of like 2 men with like a brain tree. It says
Yeah,
Pod Therapy.
I see that one.
Okay, and then there's like 2 little brain buddies.
Oh, I see him now.
Yeah,
Okay.
there it is. So of those 3, hot take. If you had to cast your vote, which one would you pick?
I like the tree one.
Yeah, that's what we're getting.
Yep.
Like the vast majority have said the tree. Second place is the blue brain guy, and then third place by a large margin is the 2 little brain buddies.
Oh, that'd be my second place. The brain
Little
buddies
brain
are my
buddies.
second place.
Yeah, that would be my second place too. I thought that one was fine, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the wide margin seems to be going toward that brain tree. And the day that I realized we're going to end up with that logo is when Nick's girlfriend Laura, who is very much alive, by the way, also cast her vote and said, "I want that one." And I was like, "Well, that's the one then." Nick's mind just got made. That's what we're going to have.
Pretty much.
That was it. That was the end of the contest. The only one who needed to vote voted, and that was it. My mom, by the way, did not like that one. She wants the little blue one. So,
Oh, really?
but sorry, Mom.
Okay.
You should have been dating Nick. Okay, like I told you.
Well, you know why that is because bats hate trees.
Ah, that's what that
Ah.
is. They do not enjoy trees. So,
Yes, that's true.
so anyway, logo contest looks like it's wrapping up, and so we'll put out final information about that and do a big like ceremony about it and all this fun stuff. So thank you everybody who participated with that. But that's about it for show news. So let's talk about real news. Some
Real
interesting
news.
new study came out that finally says something that I think you and I have felt probably was true for a long time.
Yeah, so this came out in USA Today on the 11th, March 11th. New study shows how effective Alcoholics Anonymous really is.
Mm-hmm.
So this,
I did see this.
yeah, so this has been kind of a controversy for a long time in our field because, there's a lot of people who report having success with AA,
Yep.
but it has traditionally been a very difficult area to study.
Right.
and to actually get results.
Yeah, everybody's anonymous.
Exactly. So
it's very hard to figure out.
It's
what to
right
do.
there in the name.
It's kind of right there.
yeah, so how do you track results? How do you track people over time and,
Right.
and all that? And it has been very difficult. So, but as of recently, a new study was published in the medical journal Cochrane Database of Systematic Review, found that a peer-led program not only helps people get sober, but it also has higher rates of continuous sobriety compared with professional mental health therapy,
Wow.
such as cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
So
and I
that's
actually
huge.
believe that, and I believe it for multiple reasons. The ingredients of AA, independently, if you just plucked out all the ingredients of it, there was ample evidence that those
Right.
things were helpful. I mean, peer support, just talking to community people about your feelings, processing your truth and your struggle.
Now, my
Ample
question
evidence.
always about AA is it the program or is it the willingness of the participants to be in a program?
That's it. I don't believe that the 12 steps themselves, which are also called the program,
Right.
like submitting to a higher power, accepting your powerlessness over this, the fundamental concepts that they're trying to get in there, making amends, to apologizing to people. I don't believe that that's a magic recipe that leads to sobriety. But if you look at the planks that they're trying to get people to do, we're doing that same thing in therapy, because what we're doing is, the first thing is trying to get you to accept that you need help, right? Which, yeah, that's what that's the song they're singing in the very beginning. Trying to get you to not be selfish and be self-focused or self-pitying, but to rather appreciate that, you've caused harm to other people and becoming more aware of what you've done. Like, yeah, that is something we're doing in therapy. That is something AA wants to do with, like, making amends and, like, telling people you're sorry. And then trying to help other people. Why is that a good thing? Well, because you're proactively thinking about what needs to be done in other people's lives. You're trying to help them with that. Therefore, you're constantly self-correcting in yourself. So, like, the recipe of AA, each independent ingredient, was always very strong. I mean, even just getting in a fellowship with other humans in a regular weekly way, it's like group, and it's free. And so, like, it always looked like it was going to have evidence.
Well, and all this is part of what makes it so difficult to study.
Yeah.
Right, because you've got so many different variables happening. Like,
Right.
you've got people who are there because they, as Jacob said, they're interested and they're motivated. They're internally motivated. They want to be there.
Sure.
Mixed in with groups of people who are there because it was court mandated,
ordered, yeah.
and they have to take in their sign-in sheet and have people
Right.
sign it every week.
Right.
You've got those folks. Then you've got, what aspects of it
Mm-hmm.
are working? Is
And-
it the higher power aspect?
No.
Is it the community aspect?
Yes.
Is it? Well, we don't. But that's the
No, I just
question.
told you.
How do you? All right.
That was easy.
Nick thought that question was rhetorical.
Okay. I guess we'll take our first break.
I can just give you the answers. This week's THERAPRODUCER sponsor is Smitty Scoop.
No, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that. Okay.
I'm finishing my point.
Oh, sorry.
My point was that you can't isolate those variables. Like, if you're studying AA, you're kind of studying all of it. So you can't take bits and pieces out of it. Is it the 12 steps? Is
Right.
it this? Is it that? So it has been very difficult to really draw strong
Yeah.
empirical data from that program.
But it's nice to see that there's now data that says, listen, the results, right, that people are staying healthy and that they're able to do that long term, these are now becoming obvious to science. And this was something that the AA community themselves was always struggling with, because that was the number one way that people would get out of this. They would not have to grapple with their addiction. They would not have to grapple with their disease, because whenever they're finally confronted, they'd say, well, I'm not going to some AA. That crap doesn't work anyway. And that always shut up family members, because people were like, wait, is there any evidence? I'm like, well, no, not technically. It's like,
Right.
oh, maybe it's all this cult thing. Maybe it's all. And so, like, that always took away a path that somebody could have walked down. And it usually is the easiest first one.
Yeah.
You can go to an AA meeting tonight, like today. If you decided right now that you're an alcoholic, you can get to a meeting in the next 30 minutes.
Don't tell me what to do.
Somehow he interpreted that as an attack.
I could quit anytime I want to.
Okay. No, calm down.
I don't want to, Jim.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Do we need to talk about this?
No, we don't. He's fine.
Fine.
It's fine. There's a lot of liquor in the studio, though.
So
Have some
previous-
Malort.
No, that cured my drinking problem right there.
So previous studies have looked at groups of like 3,400 people. This
Right.
study was a review of 27 studies of more than 10,500.
Oh, wow. It's a meta-study.
So,
okay.
yeah. So they've a meta-analysis. They were able to have a much larger sample size.
Yeah.
They're also talking about, so the studies reviewed for the publication rated AA's effectiveness by measuring factors including the length of time participants abstained from alcohol,
Okay.
the amount that they reduced their drinking if they continued drinking, the consequences of their drinking, and the healthcare costs. So that was something that was interesting to me, was what specifically they were looking at. So they weren't looking at abstinence only.
No.
They actually were looking at if they were able to reduce their drinking. If
Right.
they went back to drinking, was it at the same amount or was it less?
Right. And,
So-
and how long they were able to bend that curve in a downward angle.
Basically, did it help?
Did it help?
Exactly.
And I think that that was the thing, is that the anecdotal evidence that we as professionals have always had is like, yeah, it does. And we're not ashamed to like guide people toward that, but even in rehabs. And this was a debate I think that Nick and I have had to, be part of in our industry for such a long time, because there's a lot of rehabs that they rely very heavily on AA and like taking people to AA and doing the steps and basically creating almost an imitation AA inside of their structure. And that's always been a little bit problematic, right? Because there wasn't any evidence. And Nick and I think, are generally pro AA as a concept, absolutely believe that we've seen the results in our patients. And so we're pro the concept of the fellowshipping and the positive culture and the mentality and the friendships. And we think there's a lot there. But we've always done evidence-based practices inside of our programs, like we do cognitive behavioral therapy. And what this study seems to be saying is AA is actually kind of outperforming CBT. Man, that's impressive. But I believe it because AA is a surrounding. It's a wraparound program. Like if you tried to describe AA in clinical terms, it is a wraparound program that is group and individual fellowship, right? So like you're doing individual work with your sponsor, right? Probing the depths of your stuff in a guided way. The sponsor is supposed to have structural like paperwork and stuff to help you with that. And then you're going to these group experiences where you're discussing with other people who all share a similar goal and similar conviction that this is not working for them and they want help. And like you're also fellowshipping. They're having campouts, they're having barbecues, they're having sober activities that kind of allows you to redesign your social life and like get out with other people. And you're meeting people you can be friends with. So like that's a wraparound service. Of course it's going to outcompete CBT once a week.
I mean, yeah, when you get into it, you throw yourself into it.
It's a life thing,
and the fellowship part is a big part of it, as well as like, just all of the events that happen in 12-step communities.
Right.
The barbecues, the speaker meetings, these different things.
They have
so
conferences.
If you get involved in the actual program, you stay busy.
Yeah. So this is great news. I think it's great news. I think that as people who treat addictions, this is something we've long suspected would eventually show up, is that there would eventually be some evidence to support this, because we just kept seeing the results at individual levels. Our patients who were interacting with Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous were much more likely to succeed because they're not isolating, because they're participating, because they're accepting this mentality that's surfing the waves of their culture. So all of that pointed in the right direction. It's nice to finally have it validated. And thank you to Dr. Drew, who sent us this to let us know about it. I really appreciated that, Drew.
Yeah, us personally.
Yeah, he sent it to me. Maybe he didn't send it to you. He sent it to me in the sense that I subscribed to his Twitter feed, and he posted it.
Yes.
But he also was very enthusiastic. Drew's an addictions guy. And Drew is I just call him Drew.
One thing that they do talk about in here that's really interesting is that they hope that this will continue on into research studies into similar programs, such as Smart Recovery.
Yeah.
So Smart Recovery is basically a 12-step program minus the spiritual aspect of
Which
it.
is great. I think it'll be just as effective.
I think they're going to find the same results.
Yes.
But we just don't know yet because it hasn't been researched.
And this has been the great struggle. Like the two arguments I've seen people use to not go get help or to not take a step in the right direction is they've heard that AA doesn't really work and it's not science, and so why not? Why do it? And so what you're hearing here on the show is like, no, like the data comes in, man, like it's for real. Okay, fine. But then the other argument people use to not go is they say, well, it's religious. It's specifically religious, and therefore don't go because that doesn't work with my convictions. And I think that we've never accepted that. When people try to tell us that, we're like, listen, are you going to find religious people there? Yeah. Have you been dealing with that your whole life? Yeah. Like, you also see that in a work meeting. You also see that every time the NFL starts with prayer, or Congress does. Like, they're not religious institutions just because they weave this in. And you can continue to object to it, but, like, go and get what you're there for, right? Like, buy the thing you're there to buy, leave the rest. Who cares?
Right.
But yeah, you're gonna meet people there that are, religious, but at the same time, that's not a reason to not go get help. Like, if you have a problem, it's okay to go and tell them, hey, listen, I'm agnostic, I'm an atheist, and just tell them at the front that nobody will bother you about it. You'll find that there's a bunch of other people there that are exactly the same. They don't care. It's not a big deal.
I think you might be underselling it to say that there are people there that are religious. I mean, there are people who are very religious that take part in and run those programs.
Yeah.
But everything else you said, I mean, it's like, just go.
Well, but also, we have to
Fuck it,
qualify
just
that
go.
word.
Who cares?
Run the program. It's
Well,
community.
of course.
There is no leader, right? And so you just
That
walk into a
help
room.
to organize is the right way to say
But
that.
there's
Yeah,
ones
right.
that specifically say, hey, listen, this room's filled with atheists. Come here.
Yeah.
Right? And you could find those. Like, they're in the directory of the AA meetings. So that's never an obstacle.
And if they're not in your town, that's still not a reason to not go.
Get on the phone
Right.
one. Get on the phone one or the Zoom one.
Yeah.
Especially during the Corona crisis. See, but that's another thing. There's a lot of people. The rehab censuses are dropping all over the place. And you and I were talking about this in the pre-show.
Yeah.
People are using, I mean, not to say as an excuse, but it's yet another variable.
Which is really funny. As much of an underreactor as I am,
Right.
I actually am avoiding the gym right now.
Me? You're avoiding me?
Yeah. No.
I've been
Wow.
trying to.
Wow.
Yeah. We've been very unsuccessful.
That's why you're not responding to my texts.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
I'm not going to the gym anymore. Not for. I'll probably take a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, if you think about it, like, you're constantly touching other stuff that everybody else has touched.
You are
and-
looking a little flabby.
Yeah, I was
am.
going to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah. Welcome to my side of the world. It's fine. But I haven't caught Corona. I haven't gone to the gym in 7 years. So I'm hanging in there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I got ahead of this problem.
Oh,
It's a
smart.
correlation,
smart.
causation.
Yeah. I was way ahead of this.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to discuss relationship problems. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
All
Oh
right.
no, I'm sorry. We're not. We're going to talk about sports.
Oh, whatever. This
Yeah.
week's producer sponsor is Smitty Scoop. And this is all I have written here. What or who is the Ford Mustang named after? What or who is the Ford Mustang named after? Well, not the Ford part, right?
The Mustang.
Yeah.
It's Paul Mustang.
Shut up.
It was named after. It's named
No,
yeah.
it's not. There's a dude named Mustang.
The Paul Mustang.
You're making that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus.
If you'd like to join Smitty Scoop and make the show possible, you can go to patreon.com/therapy.
People rely on you.
Oh my God. Okay, we're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy, and this question is about
Hopefully, I think we just lost it.
dealing with the loss.
You
of
should
sports.
have.
Have you not heard of Paul Mustang?
That was one of those moments where you dead-eyed me, and I'm like, wait, because there's a lot of times that you've said, how do you not know who this person is? Usually it's rock bands or like artists, and you're like, Led Zeppelin. I'm like, yeah, the balloon thing, right? And you're like, no, you idiots. So I didn't know. Cars? I don't know anything about cars. He drives a Mustang. He should know.
He probably does.
What is the Mustang?
I know
named?
all about Paul.
It's named after the horse, right? It's a horse. Mustang is a horse.
The car was not actually named after the horse.
It's not?
No.
But it even has a horse on the emblem.
Yes.
Paul was really hung.
Is there
Yes.
really a Paul
Paul.
Mustang? Are you guys messing with me?
Yes, Paul Mustang.
That's
You-
a real
You
person?
seriously have never heard of Paul Mustang?
Shut up. You guys are serious.
I mean, they called him Paulie.
Yeah, Paulie Mustang.
Is this guy real? There's a real person? Paul Mustang.
He's not still alive.
Paulie Mustang.
Who is he? What was he? Like an engineer? He's the designer?
He was a designer.
He's a car designer?
He was whatever they call like an architect of cars.
You guys
Yeah.
knew about was he like famous or something? Like he's like the
Paulie
Yeah,
Mustang.
Paulie
Wow.
Mustang.
Yeah.
So he made the Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then
Later partnered with Shelby.
yes.
Oh wow. Because
Yeah.
oh,
Because you know
I mean,
Carroll
but he
Shelby
didn't-
is
he
a real
didn't-
person.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't really make it big though until he won the hot dog eating contest.
Right.
I mean, he's kind of known for the car.
the
but
Shelby guy did?
No,
No,
Paulie Mustang.
Paulie did.
Paulie Mustang. He won the first Nathan's hot dog eating
But
contest.
all the cars aren't named after people, right? There's not like a Mr. Fiesta, or like
I mean, I don't know that there
The
isn't
oddest-
one. but
Carlos
I don't-
Fiesta. You've never heard of Carlos Fiesta?
All right, that one's not real, Jim.
But the Paul guy is real, right?
Oh yeah, Paulie Mustang.
Paulie Mustang.
Wow.
I'll show you
I thought
outside.
it was a horse.
I'll show you on mine if I remember at the end of the show. I'll show you on mine. The engine block you open up the hood, and right there on the top of the engine, it's like a simulation of his signature there.
That's incredible. Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, Paulie Mustang.
Damn. Yeah, that's really
You've
cool.
never seen the PM on the side of the
No,
cars?
I've never. See, I
You
always
just thought they were only sold in the afternoons?
Yeah, I never noticed. That's so interesting. Yeah, no, that's really cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Makes
There you go.
That's really interesting. Well, that's a good trivia question, man. Like,
Yeah, there you go.
I feel like I learned something today.
Yeah.
I feel like you learned something too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do the sports one, right? Okay. This question says, my question to the show was too long for the website, so here it is. I love sports. I grew up in Kentucky, so I bleed blue and hate Duke and Louisville. I frequent Vegas, so I have a VGK tattoo on my arm and a custom Aviators jersey on my back. I know who this is. Then, this week, my world of sports stopped. I am lost. How do I sort out and handle this loss? When I have a bad day, sports is there to give me something to look forward to and cheer on. Example. Monday Night Football helps Mondays to not be so negative. Tuesday hockey and Kentucky basketball are great to look forward to as well. How do I navigate through this period of no sports and have something to look forward to? P.S. I would watch a day full of curling if I could get it. Andrea Anderson. Oh, also, how are these collegiate seniors doing with the end of their sporting careers in their final year? I would have been devastated if that had been canceled when I was a student. Oh, yeah. Good question, though.
I thought about
Due to coronavirus,
that too.
Public sports have been canceled, which got me out of my bumper sticker thing, but apparently is affecting other people negatively. I mean, I've been thrilled. Just great.
Oh,
with
Jim
it.
just learned there are other people in the universe.
Well, I mean, I
yeah.
assume. For all I know, it's the Truman Show.
I thought about that too, though, and that really sucks for a lot of these, seniors. I think, like, I was talking a few weeks back about how great Northern Iowa was doing their men's basketball. This is like the best season they've ever had.
Yeah.
Up until they lost to Drake in the conference.
The singer?
Yeah. Yes, they lost to Drake.
Wow.
You didn't know?
He's really good.
Man.
Yeah.
These guys.
You didn't know Drake was in the Missouri Valley Conference?
Talented.
By himself?
Talented. Dude,
No, there's a lot of stuff you just don't know.
There's a lot I don't know.
Yeah, we really need to just have an educated, just a show.
Just sit down and
about.
there needs to be a survey of questions that I
Yeah.
could just kind of do an aptitude test and people go, okay, these are the things that Jim needs to understand.
But anyway, they're not going to have another year like that for a long time. And for those seniors, then now they just can't. That's got to be devastating. I don't know. That's a really tough question. I really wonder what's happening with a lot of those college seniors. I know a lot of the ones who aren't really involved in academics, the ones that are not really involved in sports, but just school, their last semester doing it online. I'm sure they're pretty thrilled.
Hey, I just fucking Googled Paul Mustang. There is no Paul Mustang. It says Paul Walker, and it says Paul Walker's Mustang. I can't fucking believe it. There's no Paul Mustang?
You're kidding. There's
You
no
guys were
Paulie Mustang?
Fuck you guys.
This is news to me.
There really isn't a Paul Mustang.
I'm crushed.
Whose
So what the
signature is
hell?
that on the engine block?
God
Now
damn
I'm
it.
thinking about it. I think it just says Ford, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, I just-
that's what it
Well,
says.
Nick's talking.
I'm
like,
sorry.
I'm going to look up this Paul Mustang guy.
You're
like,
right. You're right. It's Ford, not Paulie
Ah.
Mustang.
Fuck you guys. Man, it's believable, though. That sounded really believable. Because it's like, well, yeah, it's either the horse or it's got to be a guy or something, right? Jesus. Is there no Carlos Fiesta?
No, he's real.
No, Carlos is real. Sorry, Andrea. I just Googled that while Nick was answering your question, and I, for one, am horrified that there is no Paul Mustang. I felt like I had become attached during that entire conversation. All right.
Oh,
so,
are.
so there's no sports. There's also no sports. What now? There's no God? Are you going to just tell me that that's make-believe too? There's no Santa? Just taking things away from me, aren't you? Let me have something.
I believe in God as much as I believe in Santa.
And Paul Mustang.
And Paulie Mustang.
And Paulie Mustang.
Paul Mustang. So, Andrew, this is a good question. I think that all the sports being canceled everywhere.
Do you really think that they want to hear from you right now?
I
feel
think
that they consider
you've
me an
lost
authoritative
all
voice.
credibility. You can go home.
Here's my recommendation. you need to go on Twitch and you need to discover esports. That is what's up. I recommend Rocket League. Rocket League is my favorite esport to watch, and they are currently having their championship right now. It's like soccer for cars, and it's really, really cool. So that's how
I've never
I'd
actually
compensate.
watched any esports.
Oh, really? I never did until I discovered Twitch, which I only discovered Twitch because of ICS. And it's the only reason I created a Twitch account was so I could watch them. And then I started exploring like, oh, what else is on here? And I play Rocket League. I really like that game. And so I started watching like the tournaments of like the best and the best. And it's amazing. Like it's 3-on-3. It's soccer. It's designed to look like a stadium and stuff, and like it's really cool. And then like you can watch like Halo and all your favorite video games, and there's tournaments of like the best people in the world who really get paid to do this, and it's really entertaining to watch. So yeah, esports, that's where I would go.
Esports, okay.
Yeah, it's one more thing, or bet on the weather. I think that's another thing. A lot of people are starting to bet on the weather now that all the poker books and everything are closed. They can't do anything. Sports is gone. But I think that she's right about that, right? Like the vacancy that comes with just your regular life stuff. Like the coronavirus doesn't just interrupt, social isolation issues or economic issues. Entertainment, which you think of as like the small thing, it's really not. It takes up a lot of your life. It's the thing you look forward to. It's a story that you're following.
Well, it's almost kind of, it kind of becomes part of your identity in a sense.
Yeah.
If you're tattooing an Aviators jersey on your back,
yes,
Andrea,
yeah, yeah, and Kevin has a tattoo too. Yeah, they both
Aviators.
No, they both have VGK.
I know, I saw that VGK
yeah.
one. Yeah.
No, but that it is an identity thing. So,
yeah.
The only thing I can think of as far as esports, I think that you do diversify. I think you start to discover other things that you didn't know about before. And that's, kind of rewarding to
esports
discover
is a good
thing.
Is there anything else that's like comparable to competition? I was kind of thinking like World Series of Poker, but that's not really.
Yeah, but that's been canceled
that's
too.
Also not going on.
Yeah. No, yeah. The human drama that is sports, and especially whenever you identify with a group in that arena and you want to watch them succeed, that is exciting, and it's hard to replace that. But I actually have found that esports gets me pretty excited, like specifically Rocket League. And in Rocket League, there's all these teams that are like, huge national sponsored teams. You can buy their swag. And there's a Las Vegas team. They're called Rogue. And they're owned by one of the DJs, Aoki, DJ Aoki.
Oh.
That guy, Steve? Is his name Steve Aoki?
Paul
Aoki.
Paulie Aoki.
Paul Aoki. His name isn't karaoke. But yeah, so that guy, Paul.
That's his wife.
Oh, Carrie Aoki. Oh God, I hope that that's true. I hope that she's married to him. But yeah, he owns Rogue, and so it's exciting because when I'm watching it, like I'm rooting for those guys because they're the Las Vegas guys, and like the team doesn't have to be based in Las Vegas, but they are owned by Las Vegas. There's actually esports training centers and like areas in town that like people go to train and like try to get really good at their video game or whatever. And so you can find all sorts of stuff. Go to Twitch. I think go to Twitch and find that. I think that's interesting. Not as interesting, obviously, as these huge dramas of like, humans competing at their peak physical level, but it's interesting to see people participating in a video game or chess. That could be good. Like chess tournaments are still happening. Like diversify, find a lot more of the drama out there.
The Bachelor.
Yeah, or watch TV. just watch that. But I totally get what she's talking about.
Yeah, the great thing is that it's going to come back.
It will come back.
Sports will never die. That
sounds like a challenge.
It won't.
The
it will
Olympics
always come
might
back.
be canceled. Yeah. But, I do think that this is an opportunity to look for diverse things that you've never looked for before. If you click like the sports tab of your browser and just kind of go through stories, they're going to have to fall back to like the C page stories now, but support, your college's local chess team, support like the local debate club or whatever. Like
that'd be a kick-ass tattoo.
the chess team. Yeah. The logo. Yeah.
The Northern Iowa Pawns.
Yeah. Oh. That does sound like a good idea.
It does, yeah.
But I get it, man. I get it. The vacancy of entertainment, it really does affect your humanity because you start to look around and go, man, especially whenever there's a crisis and like that's what you were looking forward to. Like I was super looking forward to baseball, and just like Aviators games, like the weather is so nice outside and you can usually go get some great tickets and like the Cubs were in town and all this stuff. Yep. And like that was going to be great, man. Or hockey. Like following hockey I totally relate to her. Like that's every night, you're following what's going on in hockey and see what's going on there. Football, Obviously football's not in season right now, but yeah.
Probably going to get pushed back, though.
Yeah, you think it
so?
will? Yeah, and the
several of
draft.
the coaches have come out and said they think that it'll get pushed back.
Wow.
Oh.
I mean, because the draft is supposed to be here in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And I've got to think that's just not going to happen.
We need to come up with an idea, though, guys, because this is our time. We could shine and fill Andrea's void right now if we can come up with some kind of competitive thing to put on our Patreon that you could follow the drama of that and
All right.
get excited about it.
Pod Therapy Patreons.
Like Greco-Roman
If
wrestling?
you can come up with something
You would win that.
with which we could fill Andrea's void,
Wait a minute.
write it.
Let's scope that down a little bit. But no, there should be something like a video game competition. We could put that on our Patreon and have a video game competition or something
Oh, God,
you could get
I'm
excited
terrible
about.
at video games.
Winner gets to get a bumper sticker for Jim's car.
You know what we should do? We should replace March Madness with podcasts. Podcast Madness. We call all the podcasts we know. We all challenge each other to something, and we just freaking shoot it out and see who wins.
How many podcasts do you know, Jim?
One.
All right.
But there's 3 dudes on that.
Yeah.
Then we got 5 guys in this tournament already. That's 5. We don't need
Jacob's
much more.
already shaking his head.
No,
so.
just one more guy.
You're
and,
0
you
for
just
1.
do a shootout. Get half a bracket. We're almost
You
there.
think we should shoot each other?
Well, I mean, if that's what it comes to.
All right, I'm in. I'm back in.
I think it should be like a triathlon. The people who get to submit the events that we have to do, and it's like an Olympics. So one day we'll all go down to the shooting range, and whoever got the best score on that one
I
wins.
think we just start doing Jackass style stuff, where we just all show up at
Truth or Dare.
we all show up at Jim's house at 4 or 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And we just shoot him with BB guns.
Yeah. This is what I was going for. Yeah.
Yeah.
We need some kind of competitive event that people could get excited about. See, we could create this.
We enlist Jim's wife. She just leaves the door unlocked.
Something that people were excited about. Or it could be like a chess tournament, or there's all those games like Words with Friends and crap like that. What we do is find one of those and then just go nuts.
Yeah, there's nothing more exciting than watching Words with Friends.
We could do online poker. We could all play online poker and have our own World Series of Poker, and that would be interesting and entertaining, and people would get sucked up in the drama. See? There it is. That's how I'm going to fix this.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, sounds
Thanks.
good.
Thanks for coming along with me on that.
Yeah. We'll put that in your hands.
You guys check your inboxes. You're going to get invites.
Okay.
I'm still just going to show up at your house and shoot you with a BB gun.
Yeah, I thought we were moving away from that one, though.
Nope.
I had this other idea.
Nope.
I'll send you an email.
I'm hearing and, not or.
It's kind of like on a lease. Who owns the car? It says and.
All right, we're going to take our next break. When we come back, we're going to discuss our favorite diagnosis. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
This week's other THERAPRODUCER sponsor is Jake Schneider. And the question is, what does BMW stand for in English? It's interesting that you would need to demark in English. Oh, you mean just with words? That's what you mean by adding the word English. Because it's an English company, right? British.
No.
So it's a foreign company.
Yes.
Is this like the Paul Mustang thing again?
It
'Cause
will
I
be.
literally know
It
zero
will be.
about cars.
The longer we talk about it, the more it's going to become Paulie Mustang.
If you'd like to join Jake Schneider and find out about our exciting upcoming competitive sporting event, you go. We should do it like field day, guys. We'll come up with field day things like potato sack race and spoon. Egg
Oh my God. He's just talking.
What if we got
I stopped listening to Jim 5 minutes ago. I just tuned back in and he's still going.
Yeah.
The ad music's even. Who started this music? Did I start this music?
Patreon.com/therapy.
Oh my God. All right, we're back. You're listening to Pod Therapy. Hopefully.
Hey, down to that one listener. Thanks for hanging in there. Thanks, Jake.
Our next question is about our favorite diagnosis.
All right. Hey, Pod Therapy. I was wondering, do you guys have a favorite type of diagnosis you like to treat? What do you think the hardest type of diagnosis is to treat? And I understand what the listener's writing there. I think by favorite, they just mean, hey, you guys are professional healthcare providers. Is there something you feel like you're very good at?
Right.
Or that whenever you see, you're eager to treat that? You feel confident about it, you feel good about it, you do well with it.
Yeah.
Favorite in that sense.
Mine would be any kind of substance use disorder diagnosis because that's my wheelhouse. That's what I've been doing for 16 years.
But let me ask you this, though, because in that broad range of different kinds of substance use disorders, how you're fundamentally going to treat each kind of person, depending upon what they were abusing, is going to be a little different, and what you feel like your personal success rate is with different kinds of like substance abuses or addiction disorders is going to be different too. Would you say that you're the most, because the other half of that question is which one's the hardest to treat? Would you say polysubstance is probably the most difficult?
Well, I don't know. Polysubstance, actually, we don't even use anymore.
Oh, what is it now?
It's not a diagnosis anymore.
What is it?
Because polysubstance, because it was never used correctly. In the old DSM-4, polysubstance basically means that
they're allowed to date whoever they want.
Right. No. Polysubstance means that...
She invented the Mustang, right?
Yes, polysubstance.
Poly.
Idiot.
Man, I really fell down that hole. I just completely believed it.
So the big misunderstanding was that polysubstance use disorder was used for anybody who was abusing more than one substance.
Yes.
That's not correct.
Okay.
That's how it was misused. That's not what it means.
Okay.
Polysubstance use disorder is for anybody who doesn't meet criteria for a substance use disorder for one substance. But when you consider all of them together, they do meet criteria.
Oh, interesting.
So, but because it was being misused,
Yeah.
then they just kind of did away with it.
Yeah.
And plus, we don't use dependence anymore. It's no longer abuse and
Right.
dependence. It's
Right.
substance use disorder.
Right.
And then it's a continuum, so we've got a scale.
Right.
So medium or mild, medius.
That's part of
moderate,
the new
severe.
tax laws, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Dependence.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's a new
Thanks,
code.
Obama. But so, I mean, I don't know if there's any substance in particular that I find more challenging. I guess probably alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because of the
everywhere.
legal nature, and you just can't avoid it.
Uh-huh.
That makes
Harder
it
to
more
test.
more difficult.
Yeah. Like if you used meth, coke, opiates, we can find out, pretty regularly. We could test you weekly and probably catch if you're falling behind on a day. Alcohol's gone. Like if you binge drink on Monday and we're seeing you on an outpatient level weekly, we may never find that out. I mean, obviously you tell your therapist, but it's harder to treat because I think it's harder to have accountability. And it's ubiquitous, it's everywhere, and it's culturally not just accepted, but endorsed. Like, cocaine is not socially acceptable. It's not just cool to go to the bathroom and take a bump. Like, depends on which club you're at, I guess.
You were in a different social circle.
Yeah, I think that's still pretty cool.
Okay,
I think
sorry.
a lot of people still.
So maybe in Wolf of Wall Street it's cool, but I agree with your point. Alcohol's probably harder.
Yeah, in your church group, it probably doesn't happen.
Not as popular. Yeah.
Not saying it doesn't happen.
Just not talked about.
Not as popular.
We don't
Yeah.
brag about it. But, sometimes we go, hey, you got a little something underneath there, the snaz there, and people go, oh, thank you.
I got to
you.
go powder my nose.
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah. Well,
But no, I don't think there's. But I wouldn't say like success rate is any different
okay.
with alcohol versus any other drug.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. Is like yes, there's different things that you have to consider, especially when looking at withdrawal management
Right.
symptoms.
Yeah.
But once you get past that, everybody brings their own personality into their addiction. So really, I mean, I could have two people who are there for amphetamine use disorder,
Right.
and they're going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And I'm going to treat them completely different
Yeah.
because how they use it and what they're using it for and their past history,
Yeah.
everything can be completely different. So you treat every individual as an individual.
Yeah, and to the listener's question where they said, what's the most difficult one? I think that you would probably, and I definitely hear you saying, like, I don't know that I'd pick one of these things and say it's more difficult. I think everyone has unique approaches. But I would argue this. I think that you'd say, but co-occurring disorder is still considered to be the hardest thing to treat, and that's what you specialize in.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
That's the thing most therapists
just,
are terrified to deal with.
Yeah, that just makes it
Yeah.
more difficult because then you have to manage both at the same time.
Yeah.
You can't stop one and then allow the other to continue
No.
because that's going to affect the other one.
It's an all so like co-occurring disorder. Regular listeners to the show have heard this before. It's the double trouble of having both a substance use disorder that where the person might be addicted or self-medicating, and then also having some kind of mental health thing. And so that could be anything from something like schizophrenia to bipolar disorder to depression to anxiety to PTSD. Anything really. And that's really, really, really difficult to treat. And is generally considered to be the hardest thing to deal with, and people often think that the hardest thing to deal with is something like, a really robust psychotic disorder. Not necessarily. You get somebody on the right meds and like those symptoms reduce really fast, like that's not this whole life crisis as much as other things can be. And I think co-occurring disorders are really, really tricky.
So what would yours be?
Favorite one to treat, and again, reframing that word favorite, because nobody's happy about your suffering, so not having excited to see you because you're going through a hard time. Like, we realize, somberly that we're there to help people.
Got to pay them bills.
Got to pay those bills, though. And so I will say that I think that for me, my highest success rate and the one that I feel the most personally connected to is anxiety.
Right.
Yeah, and so like generalized anxiety disorder, specific anxiety.
You sure are connected to that.
Yeah, I am very connected to that. Oh yeah, way worse than I today. Much better than I used to be. But I think that has given me a lot of insight, and so like I think that that's an area I've kind of carved a niche for myself. That I have really high success rates with treating anxiety, and I think that a lot of people, like if you go, and just hear my reviews and stuff, most people are like, yeah, anxiety, and especially because anxiety is such a profound one. Because whenever you first meet somebody, when they've had their first panic attack or they're going through routine anxiety episodes, they feel literally powerless. They feel like they're losing their mind. They're scared to leave their house, to go to work, to drive. They think it's going to ruin their lives, and they feel like they're trying to look up things online and try out different ideas. And that sense of being literally powerless over this and scared because you're feeling it. You feel it physically and mentally. And so a lot of people are scared that there's something wrong with them. They're going to cardiologists, to see if there's something wrong with their heart. Like, they think they have something wrong. So, like, whenever you're meeting a patient on day one and they're at that really, really terrified place where their life is now clinically significant amount of distress, and then to see the rate of change that can happen for that person when you start to tackle that anxiety and give them tools, and it's so practical, and so then they're starting to like feel better and they can function in their life and their work and their families, and so that's extremely rewarding for me to see that. So, yeah, that's my favorite one.
And most challenging?
Most challenging one, depression. Honestly, depression is so challenging because depression, you can't, with anxiety, people are hungry for the tools, and anything you hand them, they immediately start trying to use, and they want to get better. They want to feel better. Depression's hard because even when you give somebody tools, part of the depression is low motivation, discouragement, hopelessness. They have very low optimism. They don't believe any of this is going to get better. And ironically, that contributes to their suffering, and yet you can't call that out. You can't just say to them, hey, just, buck up, sport, it's going to get better. You can't do that. And so it's this malignant kind of nature, a lot of depression, and a lot of depression's treatment resistant. Even with the meds are slow. It takes a long time. They have to have good medical discipline to continue to take that. So depression's a hard one, because it's this long curve to bend them out of depression.
I always think personality disorders would be difficult too, but they're typically not in treatment.
No, yeah.
So
a lot
it's
of times
not
you're not
something
going to
you really
see it.
come across.
Or it's rarely the presenting diagnosis.
Right.
Sometimes it's like a secondary. But, and for me personally, I have a lot of reservations with the concept of personality disorders. I just don't even think
because you have one?
Probably. The malignant narcissist personality disorder is probably blinding me from my ability to treat or see it in others. I don't know. I love that Jacob's just staring at me. just with this blank stare. Just this angry kind of scowl.
How did you dress yourself today?
I have help. I found if you just sleep in your clothes, you're ready for the next day. You don't have to work it out. Just thinking about this too hard.
This is the life coaching we asked for.
Yeah. This is what we
not what you wanted.
Why are you here?
But it's what you deserve.
Yeah.
I'm the Batman of life coach.
That's right. I don't feel very uplifted here.
I didn't say I was going to uplift you.
Nope. I'm here to shoot you
Where
straight.
on the business card does it say anything
It
about
did not
uplifting?
make any
You're
promises.
not going to leave feeling better.
Oh my God.
You're going to leave feeling the way you deserve to feel.
Well, no, that's what he advertises.
I mete out justice.
I mete out justice. I'm here as the great equalizer. Well, thank you, writer. That was a good question.
That was a good one. All right, we've reached the end of our show,
Thank
and we have
Oh, I believe in God.
we have an update.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, we got that letter from her code name for the letter was Judy. And Judy told us a story about a sister, Deborah, who was 19 years old or 18 years old and had become pregnant and was struggling with whether to get an abortion.
Oh, good.
And Deborah lived with her parents, who were very religious, and so we weighed in on that. That was a couple episodes ago. And so she wrote in with an update, and she said this.
That good, by the way, was for, I want to hear the update.
Yeah.
Not for any of the things Jim was just saying.
No. Good in the sense that there's an update.
Yeah.
So this is from Judy. She says, Dear Pod Therapy Guys.
You guys suck.
Yeah, Dear Pod Therapy Guys. The cease and desist lawyer attached is from my lawyer. Okay, it says, thank you so very much for reading and answering my email on the show. Your advice was incredibly appreciated. What I found most helpful was hearing an outside parent's perspective on how I should view my mom and dad's actions. Even though we disagreed with how to deal with the situation, I could sympathize with my mom's shocked and worried feelings. Understanding where she is coming from and the fact that she has her own relationship with my sister that is much more open really helped me to avoid any arguments with her. Also, hearing, quote, that even if Deborah's choice is heavily influenced by my parents, it's still her decision in the end, end quote, really gave me peace of mind and allowed me to stop seeing my sister as just a victim without a voice in the situation. However, even after hearing our parents and our aunt and uncle make their arguments and caution her about her soul, she kept her appointment with Planned Parenthood and she did have the abortion. That being said, I was right that the aftermath wouldn't be easy because I made myself available to Deborah by going with her to the clinic, helping her with the recovery, and offering a safe place to stay. I found myself once again ostracized by my parents. I wasn't surprised that when Deborah told my dad what she had done over the phone, he began to scream, "You killed your baby," over and over, with the sound of plates being hysterically smashed in the background. What did catch me slightly off guard was that the next day, after speaking with his pastor, my dad and mom called my sister and told her that she could come back home if she agreed to undergo Christian counseling. I can only assume that Deborah is in a panicked mindset of wanting to restore herself as the good child because she agreed to these conditions. Then, as I drove her back to our childhood home, she mentioned that our mom was still going to allow her to have a birthday party next week, but that I shouldn't come. Then it dawned on me. My parents are fine with giving Deborah a slap on the wrist and accepting her back as a naive child because they have rationalized her actions as Judy is the older sister. She should have protected Deborah and encouraged her to continue with the pregnancy. Instead, because she is an atheist removed from God, Judy has led her little sister astray from the path of righteousness. Poor Deborah was pressured by Judy to have an abortion. It was a moment of weakness that Deborah can repent for, but Judy is unforgivable. I swear, guys, this is not hyperbole. Well, even right there, I'll say it's an awful lot of mine reading Judy, but okay, I still understand that that's your perspective. So long story short, I am the one that ended up sacrificing my relationship with almost all of my family for Deborah's future. That might sound bitter, but I don't regret any of my actions because I have never been willing to compromise my own identity and integrity to please others. I have decided to not let myself worry about if the relationship with my parents will ever be mended. I am not the one who shut that door. They did. So in my mind, I owe them no apology. Also, I hope that one day Deborah is mature enough to realize that even though it was not her intention, by not standing next to me in solidarity as sisters, she allowed me to be the scapegoat. In a weird way, I feel like Tony Montana from Scarface. I am the bad guy they can all point to. I say that last sentence jokingly, since I know that I must let all that negativity go. I only owe myself love and peace of mind that my time is better spent with the positive people in my life who do accept me the way I am, like my fabulous husband. Thank you once again for your vital insights. Judy, a.k.a. Judy the Bad Guy, who just became a Patreon of the show. Thank you. She's actually our newest THERAPOD.
Yes, she is. Well, that sucks that you still get labeled as kind of the bad guy. And I kind of saw that coming in a sense that even if you did stay completely out of it and did nothing, they need to point that at their frustration at somebody. Right. And if they don't point it at your younger sister, then it's going to be at you for somehow influencing her or leading her astray. Overall, despite all of that, I feel like you're handling it very well.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, and it sucks. It sucks that you have to actually go through that and then you get ostracized from family. But I think that you understand that you stayed out of it as best you could. You just provided support. You provided no direction. You didn't say, you need to go do this or you need to not do that. That's all you can do, I think, as a family member. And especially for a younger sibling who is an adult,
Mm.
she has to make her own decisions.
Yeah.
And you are just going to be there as a support system.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you did that. And if other people don't see that, well, you can't really help that.
Yeah, Judy said it right when she said they shut the door, not her. I think that's true. I'm sad to hear that there is this kind of distancing. I would kind of nudge you if you're open to feedback, Judy, and you seem like you are. I would nudge you just be careful with kind of drawing a whole lot of conclusions about how people actually feel about you in sort of that thing that you were saying midway, that you know how they feel, that you're just this unrepentant, far too gone sinner, and Deborah's just this kid that can be re-guided. There was an awful lot of layers of sort of like assumption to that, and you may not be very far off, but like I would challenge you to just be careful, because sometimes that mind reading can kind of cause us to subtly change the way we behave and talk and think about others or even ourselves. And it can cause a lot of internal suffering. And sometimes we have to check in and say, but like, I don't have evidence right now that that's how they feel. I have evidence right now that my sister says it might not be good for me to come around right now because the family's going through this. And yeah, you probably are seen as having been on the other side of an issue. And there is a little bit of that ostracize, effect. I think that's all real. I'm not here to minimize that. But I just want to be careful not to like draw a whole lot of conclusions, even though you might be right, but like look for evidence, right? And it's okay to check in with people and ask like, hey, mom, hey, dad, how do you feel about us? Are we okay? I just don't like people drawing conclusions from silence.
That's fair. And I mean, she might have more evidence than she put in her letter
true.
too.
Yeah.
The one thing I would suggest is be careful about, because a lot of those statements sounded very final.
Yeah, good point.
And I mean, that's what it is this week.
Right. People change.
Your dad said was screaming at Deborah one day, and then the next day was
Taking her
willing
back.
with a condition to get her back in. So I'd just be aware that shit changes.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if
Absolutely.
humans are one
people's
thing, it's
feelings change, and people's feelings towards you are going to change.
That's right.
And
It's a good point.
Plus, this is a very highly stressful situation.
yeah.
I think when the waters calm down,
Right.
clearer heads will prevail.
Yeah.
That being said, I really want to know what's involved with Christian counseling.
So actually, I want to weigh in on that, because I know that caused like this shrill of terror in everybody, and so I want to actually weigh in.
You could feel that in the room?
I could feel that in the room.
Good.
I could sense the disturbance
There
in the force.
There was no terror over here. Sheer curiosity.
Pure curiosity. So let me speak to that, because I think that this is an important thing we've talked about in the past a little bit. So first, a 18-year-old or 19-year-old person.
Is that, I was going to ask, do we know
abortion.
we remember how old Deborah is, right?
Yeah, she's 18 or 19.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And, that's a very young person to have gone through a very difficult thing.
Yeah.
I want her to sit with a counselor. So I'm good with that. I think that when we hear that adjective Christian added to this, a lot of times we get this idea that it's going to be like this pray the gay away kind of person. And we have to keep in mind, I, for many people, am classified as a Christian counselor. That family, if they lived in Las Vegas and they typed in Christian therapist Las Vegas, they would find me. They would see my page and say, hey, this guy identifies as a member of our faith. He's a professional. Let's go get him. And that letter could have been about me. So if they're a professional counselor, we have to remember they have the same code of ethics. They have the same training. They are ready for this. The only difference is the patient feels a little bit more comfortable coming to them because you understand their culture. The same way we've talked to like Indian people in the past and said, go find somebody that understands the culture of, your country and your religion, or Muslim. That's all that can mean sometimes. So we have to be careful not to assume it's the worst case scenario.
Yeah, no, I because I'm on board with you had this thing done, you had this abortion, you had the procedure and everything.
It's okay to talk to somebody.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
I want everybody who does something that's at all traumatic to go talk to somebody.
Right.
I guess what I want to know about the Christian counselor is, are they a counselor? Are they a therapist?
Good question.
Or are they?
Or just
Is
a
that another
pastor?
way of life? Is that another way of saying a life coach?
It's true, and that's a great question.
Are they as qualified as I am, or less so?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Because when I hear Christian counselor, I don't think trained therapist who also is a Christian. What I think of as a deacon in the church,
right,
who's got no experience as a counselor.
I agree.
Because when I had to do...
And what is their goal?
Exactly. And because when I had to do premarital counseling when I got married the first time.
Okay.
Because I was marrying someone who was Catholic.
Oh, yeah.
So we had to do premarital counseling.
Uh-huh.
But that's just with the priest.
Right, yeah.
So their level of counseling experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. And,
I don't know.
like, listen, if I had a vote and I don't and Judy doesn't, and so it's important Judy understands that too. And if the family said, yeah, it's a pastor, and there was a vote on this, I would say, let's get her to a professional, right? Let's get her to somebody that can handle the full magnitude of what she might be going through. If that person is, identifies as a member of your faith group and that makes you feel more comfortable, great. Who cares? I just want that person to go there. And so that's the thing. I completely agree with both of you guys. If this person is just a pastor or something like that, again, talking to any human is often better than talking to zero humans. I think that that's fine. And I don't think that, we have to believe in this caricature that, like, the religious mob is out there conspiring to poison a young mind or something or cause harm. I think that's...
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, that's not the case. Like, it's a hurting person talking to people that want to help hurting people. That's usually okay.
If that's what it is, then I'm very happy about it.
It's unlikely that they're going to sit with this kid and start talking about, how bad of a person they are. I mean, unless they do, in which case you're an adult, walk the hell away.
Yeah.
You should not be near that person if they're just sitting there hurting you and telling you abortion is murder, what you've done is terrible. Well, that doesn't sound like counseling at all, right? That just sounds like a mean person.
Sounds like a shitty afternoon.
Yeah, that just sounds like a mean person. So, generally speaking, I don't think anybody who finds himself in a helper's position in a chair to sit down with another human wants to do that. But they exist.
I just Googled Christian counselors Las Vegas. The
Jesus.
first thing that pops up.
I like
this
your
is-
two Google searches for the day.
Yeah.
Paulie Mustang and Christian
I'm
counselors.
still upset about that. I really thought that was a real guy. I was actually excited to go look at his engine and be like, wow, there's like a signature? Like, that's really cool.
I feel like you might need to go to a Christian counselor.
I probably
So
do.
the good news is that the first site that comes up that it directs you to is Psychology Today.
Yeah.
Great.
Which is going to be all people who've
They're all professionals. They have to show their credentials
they've
to get
got
on that page.
licenses and everything else.
Yeah.
So there's other Christian counseling organizations. But from what I'm seeing, it looks like for the most part,
it generally
they're all-
directs you to reputable people.
Yeah,
and like
this guy's an LMFT.
And I have to respect that in different states it's very different. And I don't remember where Judy said that they're from. But like in the West, here in California, Nevada, in the West, we tend to professionalize all this. Whereas there's some places that are,
Not
part
in
of
the
the
South.
Bible Belt. Yeah, in the South and
Yeah.
Bible Belt, you very much like there's literally a huge church here in town that had an entire Christian counseling like department, and it was basically pastors and like lay leaders, and they shut that whole thing down because they looked at the situation and said, this is legal liability and this is not something we're qualified to do. And instead they opened up a free mental health clinic and hired a bunch of like actual therapists to come run that.
Right.
And they just financed some time for the therapist and created a door that way. So like that's the culture in Nevada about how to deal with this among the Christian community.
Yeah, Deep
it's
South-
very different in the South.
Deep South in the Bible Belt, I would be really surprised
Yeah.
if a church, if a pastor or a deacon or someone of that nature
Right.
said, you're going to go through Christian counseling.
Right.
I would be very surprised if the person leading that counseling session was a qualified counselor.
Yeah, and that might be the case. And so we have to appreciate that we're always worried that when we hear the word religion, there's this fear of like they're going to do more harm than good. And that's always the danger, and I get that. But I would probably zoom out a little bit, Judy. I'd be careful not to catastrophize and imagine worst case outcomes. I'd look at it more like this is a hurting young woman. If she's sitting down with any compassionate human being, that's a step in the right direction. And remember that humans are very resilient, and I totally get the danger of a bad therapist or a bad Christian counselor. In Las Vegas, there is one individual who is just literally pastor and Christian counselor person. And I frequently get patients who worked with that individual and then came to me. And I am horrified sometimes by this person. And it's very, very difficult. And, because this person has done really, really destructive things. And, I guess I don't want to get too deep down that hole, but I will say, yeah, sometimes there really is a danger, and sometimes Christian counselor is grandmotherly figure that's just sitting there holding your hands and praying with you. And that's pleasant. That's kind, reminding you that you're going to be okay. So it could be that too. So we want to be careful, Judy, not to catastrophize, just because that will cause us to panic and worry about Deborah. Anybody that Deborah's talking to is great right now. I don't care if she's talking to her little league coach. Like, that's good, even if that person might not be perfectly qualified.
Yeah.
Better is not the same as perfect, and we don't want, to let perfect get in the way of better.
thank you for the update.
Yeah.
We love getting updates.
Love
Keep
getting
updating.
updates.
Yes.
Yeah, please
Send us
keep
more
in the loop.
updates.
And thank you
Yes.
for patroning the show. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Judy's just in all the right places now.
Yeah, speaking of other new patrons, we have a new THERAPAL, Mike Moyer.
Welcome, Mike.
Welcome to the party.
Yeah. Sorry that the bracket thing didn't work out, but, you know, we're about to create something new.
Yes.
Pod Therapy Field Day coming to you.
And, of course, we have our new THERAPOD.
Just the scowl.
Judy, the bad guy.
He's just scowling at me. That's all he's doing. I'm very uncomfortable.
Yeah, you should be.
Jacob's just scowling at me and picking his teeth with a knife.
Yeah. Doesn't even have to talk anymore.
He's not even talking.
Yeah.
He's just staring. He has so many knives. Look at that. He's got his like machete just unsheathed. Hold on. Can I get a picture of that? I want everybody to know this is what it's like to sit here in the churn. This is my point of view. Yeah, I'm going to post this on our Twitter. So go back into Jim's Twitter feed or into our Instagram and you can see what it's
I have
like.
a feeling he's not like that with Matt and Paul. I think that's just us.
You never hear the knife sounds on ICS.
Are you always loading a shotgun during ICS too, or is it just here?
It just sits there in his rocking chair.
By then it's loaded.
Yeah, that's right. They come in after us. It's loaded. Well, welcome, Mike. Welcome, Judy the bad guy, our newest THERAPOD. And we got to thank our bosses, Nick. We got the Elite Eight.
Yes, thank you to the Elite Eight and the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of our fan club, the THERAPRODUCERs. Thank you, Smitty Scoop, Jake Schneider, chairman of the board, Robert Brownie Jr., Ment, Kayla Lansbury, David Data Scoop, Violon, Judy Schneider, Nathan's Hot Dog Scoop, Dr. Ben Dawn, and ex-officio board members Ellie O'Dare, and Crazy Manata Scoop.
Love you guys. And if you guys would like to hear this episode uncut and unedited and enjoy our spontaneous side projects like Pod Therapy Field Day, you can go to patreon.com/therapy. And thank you all for supporting mental health. That's all the time that we've got for this week's episode. We want to thank our landlords, the Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you contributing to our show today. We really appreciated it. Remember, Pod Therapy isn't something you should keep all to yourself. Open your podcast app and copy and paste the link provided to somebody who needs it. Don't forget, you can come find us at facebook.com/podtherapy, on Twitter @PodTherapyGuys, and at patreon.com/therapy.
If you want to submit a question to the show, ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com.
Why is Jim still here?
I'm Paul Mustang.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Nobody likes Jim.